Hey everyone, just a quick reminder that we are still on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you can help my channel out by hitting that subscribe button, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, if we hit 500, I still promise to do a face reveal. Thank you for your time, and I hope y'all enjoy the video.
Hey, what's up everyone? I'm the Burning Baron, but you can just call me the Baron. And Wave 5 for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's DLC, the trailer has dropped, and you know what that means. Well, it means it's time to get excited, and I'm pretty sure most of us already are. I know I have, just like Wave 4, I was working when this Wave trailer dropped, and I've been talking about it all day. So, it's time for me to take my talking outside of work and bring it right to my YouTube channel. Much like last time, I'm here to give my thoughts on the tracks revealed. And, oh boy, do I have thoughts on this one. Good thoughts, don't worry. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Okay, so much like last time, I have absolutely no script planned for this. I'm doing this just freely, like I'm just looking at the images, looking at the tracks, and that's it. That's all I got. So, we are going to cover the Feather Cup and the Cherry Cup. So, the Feather Cup, starting with, we have Tour Athens Dash, GCN Daisy Cruiser, Wii Moonview Highway, and Tour Squeaky Clean Sprint. Yep, like every other time, it's a tour track. I'm telling you right now, it was this one, Squeaky Clean Sprint, much like Yoshi's Island, has had data mined assets in Tour for the longest time. So, I always treat them as tour tracks. But, we'll get to that in a second. Starting with Athens Dash. So, Athens Dash is the second most recent tour track that we have gotten. In fact, it debuted I'd say just a few tours ago. It wasn't that long ago. But Athens Dash is based on, well, Athens, Greece. And it was kind of like the most notable city track for not really featuring too much of the city and more on the ruins and those kinds of landmarks, which I thought was really cool. So, it's back here. And it really doesn't change too much. Hold on, I actually want to get up some videos of this so I can properly look at it. Last time I was just looking at screenshots and I don't really have access to that right now. So I'm gonna do my best to keep talking, but at the same time, try to look at as much of the overall footage as I can to really get my thoughts together. So, Athens Dash kind of didn't really change too much. Again, the visual presentation's been really kind of upped. I'm a part of I have a Discord channel where there's a lot of Mario Kart talk, and someone did mention that the buildings in the background didn't really look all that great. And to be fair, we're still rolling with tour visuals, so I mean, it's kind of to be expected. But much like most other waves, some of the improvements mostly come from the ground and a bit of the grass. As usual, the trees kind of look meh. It seems like most of the improvements come from the landmark details. Like most of the columns on several of the I'm not even sure what they're called, I'm not gonna lie, but the architect detail looks a lot better. The road detail looks a little better. Again, kind of like Riverside Park or Mushroom Gorge. The dirt path looks a lot more dirt-like as opposed to, I guess, kind of like Choco Mountain. Well, even then, the roads to these two DLC tracks have been a lot more detailed in comparison to most of the other details. Again, the trees still kind of stand out. The rock walls kind of stand out. Athens Dash seems like a mix between... You can definitely tell where they wanted to put some effort and where they didn't want to put some effort. And didn't want to put some effort into it came mostly from the same usual details. Beyond that, Athens Dash does have the notability of being the only track in the wave at the current moment not to have all three of its routes released at the time. Much like Sydney Sprint back in Wave 2. Route 3 of Athens Dash has not actually dropped in Tour yet, and unless Athens Dash 3 is in the next Tour, which I'm recording this a day before we get the trailer. We don't know what's in, like, we only know screenshots of a new track in the next tour. Other than that, we don't know anything else. But unless Athens Dash 3 is in the next tour, we're looking at a wave that once again, or a track that once again does not have all the waves, or, oh my goodness, I'm getting all my words mixed up. I apologize. I had a long day. Let me try and stay on topic. Athens Dash is the first one since Sydney Sprint where all 3 routes have not been released in tour yet. So we're in for some interesting new details on Athens Dash when it comes out. Second track to talk about is Daisy Cruiser, which, much like Athens Dash, doesn't change too much when compared to its appearance in tour. It seems to be largely the same, barring a few like details that were just kind of touched up a little bit. But well, as you can imagine, it's all taken from tour. Some extra details here include the fact that Yoshi's and Shy Guys are sitting at the tables, so we don't know if they'll move or not. And the fact that Goombas and inner tubes are now in the pool, which is kind of a cool. Sorry, I got the hiccups. A cool little touch there. Beyond that, again, not much really changes when compared to tour. Oh boy, sorry, I'm a little mixed up today. I apologize. Most of the details seem pretty much the same. Honestly, even the visuals of the course itself, I wouldn't even say they're that much different from GameCube, really. Like, I think because Daisy Cruiser takes place entirely in a ship, there's a little less on the detail that's really needed. Obviously, I wouldn't hold a candle to like Sunshine Airport or something like that. It's still as tour gets. But I feel like the visuals of Daisy Cruiser are a bit less distracting because even in GameCube, they weren't all that detailed. And honestly, between the two, even in Mario Kart 7, it really doesn't make much of a difference. I'd say the track itself still looks fantastic. Daisy Cruiser was one of those ones that I really wanted after like all the data mines and like things we started figuring out over time. Like this was the one I really wanted, especially like considering we didn't get our first GameCube track until Wave 4. The speculation for the GameCube tracks was huge, and a lot of people were speculating Daisy Cruiser since it was roughly the first. I don't remember if it was the first. I think Baby Park might have been, but it was one of the first GameCube track added to tour since the first tour, which was with the Dino Jungle and Yoshi Circuit, and that was quite some time ago. So I guess when people saw Daisy Cruiser, they immediately thought, oh, this track has to be coming to the Booster Course Pass because, like, Yoshi Circuit and Dino Jungle were already in Mario Kart 8. Sorry, not Dino Jungle. Yoshi Circuit and Baby Park were already in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, while the other option would have been Dino Jungle. And, well, we've gotten quite a few more GameCube tracks since then. I think Daisy Cruiser and Dino Jungle were the big ones that people were talking about, and Daisy Cruiser was the only one that really stuck, because after a while we got DK Mountain, we got Mushroom Bridge, we got Waluigi Stadium, which obviously hit 8 Deluxe first. So I think Daisy Cruiser was the one everyone was really anticipating on, and I think it's the one that everyone had the most faith in. The next track to talk about is Wii Moonview Highway, and holy jeez do I have something to say about this one. Where did this come from? Okay, obviously talking a lot about the data mines, this is something that I'm pretty sure nobody saw coming. According to the prefix data mine that a lot of people have been relying on over the course of this DLC, we weren't supposed to really get 2 Wii tracks in this wave. We were only anticipating 1. Now, granted, we were anticipating 2 Wii tracks in Wave 6, but thanks to Wii's Maple Treeway being pushed all the way up to Wave 3, people were starting to speculate that instead of 2 Wii tracks in Wave 6, we'd be getting 2 GameCube tracks, because the GameCube track that was slated for Wave 3 got pushed to Wave 4, as we saw with Waluigi Stadium. All of a sudden now, we've got 2 Wii tracks in Wave 5, which makes me do a lot of questioning. So, I am going to get to those questions in a bit, because when I'm done talking about all the tracks itself, I'm going to talk about my predictions, what I think is going to happen for Wave 6, because at this point now, we've got a lot of it narrowed down. There's only 8 tracks left, and like, if we're still going to call by the prefix leak, 5 of them are going to be tour tracks. So let me just talk a bit more about Moonview Highway as a whole right now. Like, I think the big problem with Moonview Highway is that it's going to look a little too similar to New York Minute. This is especially problematic because of how much it takes on after tour. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. When I saw the thumbnail for the video, I thought this was New York Minute again. I'm like, this does not make any sense. Why on earth would we see New York Minute again? But then I realized, wait, that's not New York Minute. That's Moonview Highway. And then my brain imploded because I had absolutely no idea what the heck to expect. My first thought was, did we really just lose Koopa Cape to this? Then I boot up the video and Koopa Cape's music starts playing, and I'm just confused all over again. Like, my brain was hitting every single wall inside my head. Me and my friend watched the trailer, and yeah, I was baffled at the fact that we got both Koopa Cape and Moonview Highway. Again, the fact that it looks so similar to New York Minute, I think is kind of hurting it. But at the same time, I'm not going to argue because, hey, we're 5 waves in, and another curveball just hit us in the jaw. Why would I complain about that? I like surprises. Even when we thought we had everything figured out, bam, once again, Nintendo's like, hey, you guys slow down there for a little bit, and we will show you how surprises are done. And voila, now we have Moonview Highway. There really isn't much to say about the visual presentation. Again, like I said, it's too similar to New York Minute, especially when you're inside the city. But beyond that, I'm honestly really down for the inclusion of this track. Even though I wish it was Dry Ruins. But again, I will talk a little bit more about the overall thoughts on the Wii tracks when I do my predictions. So for now, I'm going to move on to Squeaky Clean Sprint, which, much like Yoshi's Island beforehand, we already knew about from before. I don't really think there's too much to say because I also did kind of cover this in my Nintendo Direct discussion. We don't really, it does, like, again, a lot of what was shown was already seen in the tour, or in the direct footage, so there's nothing really new to talk about here. And plus, like Yoshi's Island, this is going to be its first appearance, assuming that it's not joining the other new track in the next tour, which again, at the time of recording this, we don't really know much about the new track that was just announced for tour the day of. My apologies, my laptop volume is still high up. Alright, so we're just gonna go right on to Los Angeles Labs, which kind of is a long-awaited tour track at this point, because this was a track that was, according to the prefix leak and the music leak, slated to be in Wave 4, but that got shifted around in favor of Tour Bangkok Rush. So LA Labs finally hitting the scene, and I gotta say, it looks really nice. They've swapped out a sunset for a daytime setting, which, honestly, I think it suits it way better. I think LA Labs would benefit a little bit more from the daytime setting. It really captures a summertime vibe, which is very suiting considering this is going to be the summer wave. And I'm looking at the scene of Mario and Yoshi driving along the beach, and it looks beautiful. Honestly, it looks really, really nice. The big thing about LA Labs is, I think this was something a lot of people talked about, is whether or not it was going to be a sectional or a lap-based track. I think everyone was speculating that it was going to be section-based because LA Labs does not have a single start, none of its 3 routes start in the same place. In fact, none of the 3 routes even intersect all that much. I think the most these tracks intersect is a corner, a literal corner of the track intercept from each individual route, which means that this is definitely going to be a sectional-based track. I have already come up with some kind of idea on how I think it's gonna roll. I could easily be wrong based on the footage. I think we can clearly see that it's going to start on Route 1 and it's going to go through LA Labs 1 completely normal. But we also do see it go into LA Labs 3 reverse, because we see Mario gliding from the baseball diamond from the opposite end that the LA Labs 3 goes through. So I'm anticipating that LA Labs 2 will be run in the same direction, while LA Labs 3 will go in reverse. Now, I don't have an image, but so if anyone wants to get up a map while I talk about this, let me try to put this into perspective. It's gonna be hard. Actually, let me try to get up my map. I made a little bit of a map concept for this. I'm going a little all over the place with this one. I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm just all over the place after today. Let's see. There we go. Maps, here we go. Okay, so in my concept, LA Labs 1 would go in the entire same direction up until it reaches the kind of the sharp V turn where it would veer into the oil fields. I don't exactly know what it's called. So instead of going straight back towards where the turn towards the finish line would be, it would instead veer off into the oil fields. Now, I think the one thing that might completely change my concept is the fact that we saw a banner, a starting line banner at the bridge section, which, if I'm correct, is right near the... It's right near the bridge to where LA Labs 2 is. So it makes me think that perhaps what we'll see is that instead of going towards the oil rigs, what we might do is we might take LA Labs 3 in regular way before going on to LA Labs 2 reverse, and then cutting right back into LA Labs 3, going in reverse, and back down to the finish line. So, okay, let me try to... I'm terrible at describing things. I'm literally looking at the map. So I have a combined map of all three routes. It will start at LA Labs 1, which is at the, I believe it's called the St. Monica Pier. I don't know. Again, I'm not too well-knowledged on landmarks. So it's going to go in LA Labs 1 in its entirety. Once it reaches the left-hand turn that would normally go right back to the finish line of LA Labs 1, it's instead going to take a right turn, which will lead to the route of LA Labs 3, which will go under the bridge of LA Labs 2, and that's where we saw the starting banner. So once it goes through LA Labs 3 in its normal direction, instead of going straight to where the finish line normally would be for LA Labs 3, it's going to go up to where the finish line for LA Labs 2 was, which will start the LA Labs 2 route in reverse. At least I'm pretty sure it's in reverse. And then it will go all the way through the oil fields and back to the straightaway of LA Labs 1, where it originally turned onto LA Labs 3's normal version. But instead of going to the finish line, since we clearly saw Mario gliding over the baseball field in reverse, I think it's going to go straight back into LA Labs 3, where it's going to go into reverse. And then once we reach the back to the straightaway where most of the routes connect, it's going to go right down to LA Labs 1, where it'll finish the entire race. That was a lot of describing for this map. So we don't know. That's just my speculation. We only have about 7 days, like less than a week of waiting until Wave 5 drops. By the way, as always, watch out for keep an eye out for the video where I will play the entire wave. Hey, so this is being recorded shortly after I recorded everything about the LA Labs. And after watching the footage again, it turns out that Mario actually wasn't gliding towards the baseball diamond from the behind. Which means that everything I just said about LA Labs' layout is probably incorrect. So, yeah, sorry about that. Back to the main video. Anyway, that's LA Labs. Let's move on to Sunset Wilds. So much like Koopa Cape following, I guess I shouldn't have started with that. Okay, Sunset Wilds was kind of the predictable one. We all saw this coming. The music leaks showed it, the banner leaks showed it, the prefix leaks said that there was a GBA track. There was no way Sunset Wilds was going to get dropped. So this is probably the least surprising part of the wave, that doesn't make it any less meaningful because Sunset Wilds is still one of my favorite GBA tracks. And I think much like Riverside Park, they definitely put a lot more effort into this track. I'd say that much like Riverside Park, the only real problem I would have is the plant life, which in this case is the cacti, which are far less frequent when compared to the trees of Riverside Park. But other than that, well, okay, the off-road doesn't look great, and the mud doesn't look all that great. Maybe I just need to look at it up close, because I'm looking at it from a distance. Yeah, no, I wouldn't, I guess maybe not. I wouldn't exactly go as far as to call this the Calamari Desert of Wave 5. Calamari Desert was kind of better than this. But much like Riverside Park, a lot of the canyon walls or like the rocky mesa walls in the background look way more detailed than most rock mountain style tracks. So let's use that as an example. Looks way better than that. Like I said before with Athens Dash, the road details look a lot better. It's mostly the off-road details that are still a little bit tour-based distracting. Otherwise, Sunset Wilds also does not change too much from its tour counterpart. My biggest concern about Sunset Wilds is whether or not they're going to keep the sunset detail that was in both Mario Kart Super Circuit and Tour. Because, well, when you compare it, much more detailed skybox makes me think maybe they won't. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure if the mobile device and a Game Boy Advance can handle the idea of a sunset, I feel like a Switch shouldn't have any problem with that, especially considering Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are on the same system. You don't have any excuse. I'm pretty sure a detailed skybox can satisfy for or handle a sunset animation like how they've been doing it. So, unfortunately, though, none of the footage shows any sort of signs of the time of day changing throughout the race, so I guess we're just gonna have to wait until the wave releases before we find out for sure. So, there's not really much else I can say. Sunset Wilds was by and far probably the most predictable part of this wave. The next most predictable part of this wave was Koopa Cape, which... Okay, much like Sunset Wilds, we knew about this. It was in the banner leak, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us were pretty confident that it would remain here because a lot of these data mines have been very faithful and very accurate. The only thing that's been shuffling around were the prefixes, but as we've been proving so far, the prefixes are still all there, they're just being shuffled around. We saw that with how Waluigi Stadium was pushed out of Wave 3. We saw how Tour Bangkok Rush and Los Angeles Labs were swapped around. I think, and we're seeing it in this wave even more, which I will get to in a bit. But Koopa Cape is, honestly, it surprises me. It's genuinely surprising. Like, much like, I was wholeheartedly expecting the Rock Wall Canyon walls to be much more like Rock Mountain of Wave 3. Really distracting and really ugly. But no, it kind of takes on after Riverside Park instead, which I think is way better. As always, as per usual to mention, the trees are booty butt lame, so that's kind of the distracting point. But the giant metal Koopa shell is really nice detail. Like, I don't think it was ever really shown to be made out of metal. Like in both Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 7, it kind of just looked like a giant Koopa shell. But I think what really gets it is that the whole underwater section is now also in anti-gravity, which is an awesome addition. The water visuals look absolutely amazing. I'm going to say, once again, it's probably mostly going to be the off-road details. Like, the grass just kind of looks meh. I wouldn't give this the Riverside Park treatment. This looks more like the Mushroom Gorge treatment, to be honest. But overall, not bad. The details on the rock wall and the fact that the underwater section is definitely a lot more interesting. I'll give that all the pass. So let's wrap this up with my favorite surprise of this entire wave, Vancouver Velocity. This was the tour track that, according to both the music leak and the prefix leak, was probably not going to be until Wave 6. Thank you, Nintendo, for once again shattering expectations. Vancouver Velocity got bumped up to Wave 5, and I couldn't be happier because that is my favorite tour track. So, I no longer have to wait much longer for my favorite. I can get it right there and then, and I'm going to play it to hell and back. Can't wait. I'm not going to try to figure out the layout to this one because we see a lot of new details about this. So, looking at the footage, you got the Olympic cauldron all there. I'm just going to cut right to it. They did exactly what I hoped they would do, and I'm pretty sure a thing that everyone hoped they would do. The giant suspension bridge is in anti-gravity. I'm looking at this thing the moment we knew all the tour tracks were basically coming into this DLC, I looked at that suspension bridge and I'm like, if that is not anti-gravity, I'm gonna riot. Of course, they did it. I was even thinking about this during the night tour going on. The lights on the suspension bridge fence are even glowing light blue in tour. Like, come on. This is so easy. Just make that whole thing anti-gravity, and they did. I am so happy with that. Beyond that, you skate, you go in the ice rink. It seems like, based on the footage I'm seeing, it seems like you actually enter in through a different entrance. I could be wrong easily. Actually, I think it's going through at the right direction. But much like several other tracks, it seems like the alternate routes might be a little bit shuffled around. Route 1 probably will go in the exact same direction because much like Elliott Labs and like a few other tracks, the Route 1 seems to be very individual. It doesn't cross paths with the other routes nearly as much. Vancouver Velocity is a good example. Routes 2 and 3 intersect a lot in the sense that they both go through the hockey rink, or I guess it's called the Rogers Arena if I'm correct. But it seems like we see Rosalina go in through the one-way through, I think it's Vancouver Velocity 2 reverse. But then I think we also see Toad go through the route from the LA Labs 2 normal direction. So at some point, we're clearly going to be going in reverse, much like Amsterdam Drift and Berlin Byways and several other tracks where the routes just couldn't decide on one direction. They've had to go in all sorts of different directions. So we're looking at another track that might have a predictable Route 1 or Lap 1, but a harder to predict Laps 2 and 3. But overall, just the fact that they bumped this wave or this track up a wave makes me over the top happy. So I'm game. Let's go. Bring it on. I'm set. I'm ready. So that's all the tracks. Now let me get into my predictions for Wave 6. Alrighty, so anybody who's been following most of the data mines and stuff kind of has an idea on what we can now expect out of Wave 6. But thanks to Wave 5, and more specifically Moonview Highway, there are a few mix-ups to this wave. And I'm going to address the elephant in the room right away, and that is the fact that Moonview Highway is now the other Wii track. Okay, let's rewind all the way back to Wave 2 for a quick second when we originally got this, or I think it was Wave 1 when we originally got the prefix data mine. The prefix data mine showed that we would be getting 6 Wii tracks, which, at the time, was spread across Waves 2, then Waves 4 through 6. We were set to get 1 in Wave 2, which turned out to be Mushroom Gorge. We were set to get 1 in Wave 4, which turned out to be DK Summit. We had already gotten 1 in Wave 1, which was Coconut Mall. Then we got Koopa Cape in Wave 5. That left 2 more that were slated to be in Wave 6. But Moonview Highway bumped itself up into Wave 6, which, if we were to still follow that data mine, would mean that there are no longer any Wii tracks in Wave 6. This kinda hurts a huge prediction that me and I think a lot of other people had since the beginning of the year, and that was the status of Wii Rainbow Road, which I believe I know this for certain. Wii's Rainbow Road debuted in Mario Kart Tour during the 2023 Space Tour, and combined with the fact that the OG prefix leak forecasted a Wii track at the end of Wave 6, like the very last track, everyone was speculating that that had to have been Wii's Rainbow Road. But now, I don't think anyone's too sure about that anymore because Moonview Highway shakes things up entirely. We are now questioning whether or not we're going to get Moonview Highway at all, or sorry, Rainbow Road at all, thanks to Moonview Highway. On top of that, another big shakeup was the status of the last remaining Super Nintendo track, which, ever since the 2023 Bowser Tour, people are speculating to be Bowser Castle 3. I am so on board with that, by the way. That track was originally slated to be in Wave 5, but as we now know, again, thanks to Moonview Highway, that's nowhere to be seen. We did not get a Super Nintendo track in this wave. So, that means that what we're looking at is a possible, the known thing we know for sure is that there are still supposed to be 5 tour tracks. As far as we're concerned, 2 of them are city tracks, and 3 of them are the new Nitro tracks in the same sense as Squeaky Clean Sprint, Ninja Hideaway, etc., etc., etc. So, going over what we know that Rome Avante just dropped in the Night Tour, so that's going to be in Wave 6. Piranha Plant Cove, another track that has debuted as of recently, is also definitely going to be in Wave 6. So those are 2 of the tour tracks we know of. Beyond that, we now know, thanks to the teaser images that dropped in for tour on Thursday morning, again, the day this is being recorded, we know of another new Nitro track, which we are speculating to be the Mob DK track. Originally speculated to be something along the lines of Sarasaland, as in Daisy Kingdom, DK. People are now beginning to see that the DK probably stood for the word Dokkan, which I read this morning is Japanese for pipe. So that being said, people are starting to speculate that the Mob DK track is this new track. So that's another track that we are speculating is going to be obviously in Wave 6. Leaving 1 more city track and 1 more unknown Nitro track as of this prefix data mine. That all being said, people are still speculating that the last city track, which internally in Mario Kart Tour is called Mob MD, which people are speculating to be Madrid, Spain. I have no other real contribution to that. I'm kind of on board with that. I don't know any other city that it could really be, because I don't know any other city that starts with an M and has a D in it. I was thinking of going through it, but I'm not going to spoil anything. And then there's the one last Nitro track, which we don't have anything on. Who knows? Maybe it's not a Nitro track. Who knows? We don't know what it could possibly be, because as far as I'm concerned, there's also no real indication in Mario Kart Tour's files over what it could be. I think there are 2 mob test track files in Tour, but I really don't know anything beyond that. That being said, those are the 5 tour tracks that we know of, or sort of know of. That would leave 3 more Nitro or retro tracks, which now have a bit of a wrench thrown into them, because as of the original prefix leak, this was supposed to be 2 Wii tracks. Wave 3 shook that up by taking one of those Wii tracks and bumping them up a lot, which meant that at that time, we were then looking at 2 GameCube tracks. But now, thanks to Moonview Highway being in Wave 5, we almost think we're looking at, once again, 2 GameCube tracks and a SNES track. But that's not where my predictions are going to lie. Not necessarily. Because I personally believe that Moonview Highway did more than just shuffle everything up. I think it took a casualty with it. I have a feeling... Now, let me roll on to some other speculation that I've seen floating around, and that is the status of what the last 2 GameCube tracks were going to be. A lot of people... There's already the whole debate on whether or not it's going to be Dino Dino Jungle versus DK Mountain. Both jungle-themed tracks, both have the same music, both in Tour. It's kind of a battle to see which one it's going to be. I'm personally on Team DK Mountain. I would love to see DK Mountain come back, but I would not be opposed to Dino Dino Jungle. I have a preference, but I don't have a real preference, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't care which one it is, but I know which one I would rather see. If we got the other one, that's fine. If we got Dino Dino Jungle, I would not be opposed to that. If we got DK Mountain, great, that's what I want. The other GameCube track that people are speculating is Mushroom Bridge. Now, understandably speaking, because Mushroom Bridge debuted in the 2023 Mii Tour, which was pretty recent. I'm not on board with that. You cannot tell me that Wave 6, including Mushroom Bridge, would be okay. Wave 5 is pretty stacked. Moonview Highway, while, yeah, admittedly had said that it's way too close to New York Minute, is still a pretty hype track. I'm pretty on board with that. Daisy Cruiser's pretty hype, Sunset Wilds is pretty hype, and all the tour tracks are really good picks. And of course, Koopa Cape is, well, I'm calling it a bit of an overrated track at this point. I still like it, but that's the fan favorite everyone wanted. You can't say, even my words are not going to tell you that it's not a good pick. I think it's a good pick. Everyone else thinks it's a good pick. It's a finally. Which means, again, if we're going to have Wave 5 so strong, I can't see Mushroom Bridge ending this DLC. Obviously, I'm not saying that the last track is going to be something as lame as Mushroom Bridge. Not at all. I think Moonview Highway actually sniped Mushroom Bridge out of the running entirely. I don't think we are getting 2 GameCube tracks in the next wave. I still believe that we are still going to get Rainbow Road. Maybe I'm in denial, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm personally hoping we stick with Wii Rainbow Road. And I can back this up further if Bowser Castle 3 is the last SNES track, which would be a perfect way to follow up to Wii's Rainbow Road. You've seen the tradition for at least 8 games, maybe not 8 games, ever since Super Circuit. We have had a Bowser's Castle followed by a Rainbow Road in the last cup, in the Special Cup. This is the Spiny Cup, the last cup of the entire DLC. What better way to end it off than with SNES Bowser Castle 3 and Wii's Rainbow Road? Throw in, I don't really care what else they could throw in, because obviously speaking, the only other options are DK Mountain and a tour track. And I really don't think we're going to get 3 retro tracks in a wave with 5 tour tracks. I think what we are looking at are 2 tour tracks and these 2 tracks. So I'm going to kind of give, with what I think I know, I personally have knowledge on 5 tracks that could potentially be in this wave. 2 of them guaranteed, 3 of them, the retro tracks are the only things that are really up in the air, because even SNES Bowser Castle is not guaranteed. I think that the Spiny Shell Cup is going to contain 2 new tracks. I think it's going to be the Madrid track at the very least, or maybe even not. I'm going to say Spiny Cup will have Piranha Plant Cove. I think it's going to have the unknown Nitro track that we don't know about, SNES Bowser Castle 3, and Wii's Rainbow Road. While I believe, what is it, the Acorn Cup, if I'm correct? I think it's the Acorn Cup. I think the Acorn Cup is going to start with Rome Avante, I keep messing up the name. It's going to have DK Mountain in it, alongside the new Pipe Course, and... Geez, what am I missing here? What am I missing? I put the... Oh, damn it, now I've already forgotten. Okay, Madrid in... Madrid was the other one. I put Piranha Plant Cove and the unknown Nitro in Spiny. So yeah, Rome, Avante, the new Nitro course that we don't... Oh no, the Pipe course that we are getting, DK Mountain, and the speculated Madrid course. That is what I believe is going to be in the final wave. Obviously speaking, that's just speculation. It's not confirmed, and we have a few months to wait before we find out for sure. But I'm really hoping for that. Otherwise, I think the only way they can really end this DLC is if the new Nitro track is really spectacular, or we're ending on Bowser Castle 3, which I don't think is any better of an option. Like, yeah, sure, it's Bowser Castle 3, but Wave 3 ended on 3DS Rainbow Road. You peak too soon if you're ending Wave 3 on a Rainbow Road and not Wave 6. So, I'm kind of hoping that Wii's Rainbow Road stays intact, and that Moonview Highway really did just snipe GameCube's Mushroom Bridge out of the running. But those are my predictions, and I'm going to leave it at that. Alright, and this has been my talk on Wave 5's DLC. Stay tuned on the Wednesday following this on June 12th when I record and play through the entire wave. Who knows, could be a day early like the last wave was. But I will see you guys then. In the meantime, if you would like the video, hit that like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think of this wave and what you think of Wave 6, what you think Wave 6 is going to include. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. You know Wave 6 will have the same deal. I will cover the tracks, I will play the tracks, and after Wave 6 I will also be going over my overall predictions from the very start, and I will see what I got. What I called. I think for when I do that, I'm only going to include my predictions from when I did the very first wish list. So my midway predictions that I did back when Wave 3 released, I'm not going to include those. I'm going to do an overall comparison to what I wanted versus what we actually got. Until then, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.